Hello, I'm Spencer McIntosh, agronomist with Golden Harvest, and we're out here in a field that has had some fairly severe hail damage. And so we're out here. This is young corn. This is actually corn that is largely in the 3 to 4 leaf stage when it was hailed, and we're out here trying to assess how severe the damage is, if the stand is worth keeping. So this field was planted about 4 weeks ago, and so we're well into the season, and so to replant now is something we'd rather not do this late in the season, but we really need to assess what we have at this point. And so as we start to assess hail damage on plant, one thing that we know is that corn plants that are 5 leaf or less, defoliation itself tends to have very minimal impacts on yield. But as we can see, this is pretty severe. We're not just removing leaves, we're getting down into the stem. The plants are really tattered. One thing that happens when we have this much damage in here, there's also a lot of soil that's splashing up in the plants, can get down in the whirl. That soil's teeming with bacteria, and it can start to get some bacterial infections in these plants. So we're about 8 days after the hail event here. We had 3 to 4 days of really cool overcast weather following the hail event, and now we've had 3 to 4 days of sunny, nice 70 to 80 degree growing weather. The corns are growing well again, and you can see on these plants we have some new growth. So to begin assessing this and really understanding what we have, one thing I like to do is go out and assess the plants that are showing some growth and see what we got. And what we want to do is look at the new growth on the plant, and you can see on this one we have close to 4 inches of new growth here. Some of these other plants that are growing fairly well, again, some of this new growth is pretty clean. Right in here we've got 3.5 inches there. New growth on these plants, again, we're showing probably about 3 inches of good clean leaf material here. And so for most of these plants we're seeing 3 to 3.5 inches of good growth on some of these healthier plants. So as we begin looking at the stand as well, we've obviously got some plants that are completely dead, and so we can see some of those. There's pretty much no question. Here we have some stobs. Here we have a stob. So these are obviously dead. The question really begins to be, what about these plants? They're still green. Are they still alive? What's going on with these plants? And this is where, after we've had some growth of about 3 inches of regrowth, some of these plants that are not showing that are probably sick. There's something going on. And what we'll find is when we start getting down in here and you cut into these plants, and please be careful with doing this. We don't need to sever any appendages to try to evaluate corn. But what you can see is as we get down into these plants, get it up in the sun here, is that basically we have some rotting going on. And so when we get this soil splashed up into the whirl, we have a sick plant, we have a lot of tattered material, we can get infections down in here. Once we have infections down in here, this is typically going to extend down through the stem into the growing point and kill the plant. And so to begin to get a handle on what to do with this field, we're kind of under the gun. In about 3 days from now, we're forecasted to have another 3 to 4 days of heavy rain. And so we're truly trying to assess what we do. And so basically what we're doing is going to go through, and we need to take stand counts like we normally would in any replant situation. And what we're looking for is, if we can see about 3 inches of growth on a plant, we're going to count that as a living plant, a viable plant. And then these other plants that don't quite have this 3 inches of new growth on them, see where this one just has a couple inches, basically we can pretty well make the assumption that these plants probably have some type of infection in here. And you can see again the infection that we have in there, and these plants are not going to make it. And so it allows us a way to get in here and start really assessing the field and understanding if we need to replant this. And so it's one of the key signs to look for when we have severe damage on small hail. You really need to get in there, cut through the stems, and assess how much new growth we should be seeing, ideally, to understand which plants are still viable and which are not. And from that point we can do our stand counts like we normally would for replant and understand the right decision to make as if we replant this field or not. Again, Spencer McIntosh with Golden Harvest. Thank you.